A little controversy on type 1 diabetes and a carnivore diet. Certainly, people have used carnivore diets to help with type 1 diabetes, undoubtedly. Certainly, you can see a great reduction in insulin requirements, overall better glycemic control. Often we sometimes even see reversal of diabetic sequelae like retinopathy, nephropathy. All those things get better on a carnivore diet. And there are some people that they'll make the claim that they have been able to restore insulin ability or no longer requiring insulin on a carnivore diet, which is really sort of interesting, right? And the thought would be perhaps this is a delayed honeymoon period. As some people initially get diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, there is this gradual decline in their insulin secretion ability as these beta cells continue to fail further and further as they succumb to the disease, and that can be delayed maybe for many years, perhaps. And that is certainly plausible. There is some thought that maybe some of these type 1 diabetics were actually misdiagnosed, which does happen. Maybe they have something called LADA, late autoimmune diabetes of adulthood. They might have perhaps type 2 it's just been misdiagnosed for whatever reason. And then the other thought would be, well, maybe, there are people that clearly put autoimmune diseases in remission on carnivore. We see it with Crohn's disease, we see it with rheumatoid arthritis, we see it with psoriasis, on and on. And why wouldn't type 1 diabetes be any different? And maybe there's a small subset. Perhaps there is a thought that type 1 diabetes is not a singular entity, and that there are different variations. In fact, there are variations of type 1 diabetes that have been described, and maybe certain percentage of that would respond to something like this. Now, to my knowledge, and I've seen the people making those claims before, and some of them it's been quite dramatic. They went from using 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 units a day to nothing, which is quite amazing, both type 1s and type 2s, but primarily type 2s. But with regard to these type 1s, could it be, how would you assess that? And to my knowledge, it's not been done. Now, I think, you would have to get, say, for instance, something like a C-peptide at baseline and see that it's, basically minimal to none, which most type 1 diabetics, even long-standing type 1 diabetics, will still secrete a little tiny bit of insulin, but it's nowhere near enough to manage a blood glucose. So there's usually some level maintained even after many years. But if we saw that situation where minimal to next to none was being secreted, and then all of a sudden we have normal levels of secretion of a C-peptide in a diagnosed type 1 diabetic, that might give some credence to the fact that you could say that, well, maybe this diet can potentially reverse that. Now, again, I will tell you, I have seen people making those claims. I have, my opinion on that is that I'd like to see actual data like I just discussed before you could actually say, yes, this has actually reversed this disease. Could that be the case? Maybe so. But to this point, no one has convinced me of that. I think it is probably as likely that these people are just misdiagnosed or in extended honeymoon periods. But I hope to be proven wrong, because it would be awesome if you could find a treatment that could put type 1 diabetes truly into remission, even if it's a small percentage of it. Maybe there's a particular subtype that might go into that. So hopefully this makes sense to some of you guys. Like I said, I'm very much aware of the fact that type 1 and type 2 are very different diseases. And also we have to realize that there are, there's more than just type 1, type 2. There's many forms of diabetes out there. And even among the type 1s, I think there's subtypes that are slightly different. So let me know what you guys think.